What did you think of Hitler when you first met him?
At the beginning, his paranoia startled me. He was a man who trusted others, and whom he did, he was easily manipulated. It's good to trust others, not to do so is much better.
As Hitler rose in power, how did your attitudes towards him change?
At first, I thought Hitler paled in comparison to me, and Hitler looked at me as an idol. And as Hitler gained power, I started to fear him. I converted into anti-Semitism, and I even signed the Pact of Steel with Hitler. The history of saints is mainly the history of insane people. I thought of Hitler as, or I told the people of Italy that Hitler was a genius, but in reality, I thought he was insane and I disliked him.
What was your biggest mistake?
My biggest mistake would probably be trusting Hitler and signing the Pact of Steel. When I signed the Pact of Steel, Hitler backstabbed me and he forced Italy to join the war and attack Poland, despite Italy being unprepared and lacking resources to fight the war.
How was life like before Hitler came into power?
Hitler came into power, we were in economic crisis. There was hyperinflation where it was more beneficial to burn our money for warmth instead of actually using it. 40% of our population was unemployed because there were no jobs to take on.
What was life like afterwards?
Life was a lot better after Hitler came into power. He gave us more jobs in the government because he was re-strengthening the military. Because of this, we finally got out of the depression. We were willing to tolerate the burning of books, the banning of political parties, and the creation of a police state, all for a way out of the depression. We were that desperate.
Do you think your early life affected your political career?
Yes, very much. As a child, I always dreamed of becoming an artist, and thus I struggled to achieve this dream. Unfortunately, when I went to Vienna, this dream came to a halt, and unfortunately, I was unable to be an artist. Now, this inspired me to look into a career past art, to look into the politics. However, the problem was I did not have the power or the ability to participate in the politics with success. Originally, as I went into the army, I slowly began to develop this passion, this enthusiasm to become part of politics, this enthusiasm to make Germany great. There was a time when the US dollar was equal to 4 trillion German marks. And as we were struggling to survive, people, rather than buying wood for their houses, decided to use barrels of money. Now in this time, we struggled to keep our families well fed, to give them nourishment as well as health care. And thus, people began to die. However, as we continued on, and as I was given lead, we were able to do something great. We were able to create a world where economy was not an issue. And thus, as I said before, we continue to fight and we continue to build hospitals as well as manufacturing ranges. And with this energy and with this passion, we managed to accomplish something great. And with this energy and passion, we managed to create a world where we cured disease, where we built hospitals all the way from the ground, and where we gave people jobs. nourishment, education. And thus as the children grew up, they grasped this passion as well. And their futures and careers were solved. They had a future to live for, a life to succeed. And thus as we continue to go on this path, we continue to solve this problem and make it so that we no longer have to struggle and no longer have to face this difficulty. And as we see, we managed to make something great. We managed to build something from the ground. We managed to create skyscrapers. And in the end, we managed to give jobs.
What are your views expressed in Mein Kampf?
We nationalist socialists must hold unflinchingly to our own foreign policy, namely to secure for the German people the land and soil to which they are entitled on this earth. The soil in which someday German generations of peasants can beget powerful sons who will sanction the investment of the sons of today and will someday acquit the responsive statesmen of blood, guilt, and sacrifice of the people. Even if they are persecuted by their contemporaries, state boundaries are made by man and changed by man.
What are the policies of the Nazi Party?
As a child, I have always loved art. Now, the thing about art is, despite the fact that I never was able to get into the Academy of Fine Arts, I came into politics. And thus I managed to create my own masterpiece, my own piece of artwork, the Nazi Party. Now, some of the policies the Nazi Party created to make Germany a better place was to make only German blood and citizens. To share the profits which are made by this country, to let the state control big businesses and drive us to the top. And thus, with this, we could create healthcare, and it would be guaranteed to every citizen, to provide education to the poorest as well as the wealthiest, to regulate the press and provide censorship on matters of the state, as well as develop a strong army and annul the Treaty of Versailles. Through this, the Nazi Party could create a beautiful piece of artwork. And much like as I was a kid, we could work and create a masterpiece where Germany would be something beautiful.
Why is the Nazi Party anti-Semitic?
As I entered my years in war, I began to develop this passion for Germany, in which I won 2 Iron Crosses, in which I began to become more and more passionate and began to realize Germany's military strength in World War I. But when the defeat occurred of Germany, I began to feel this anger, and I began to realize that Germany was not capable of loss. Instead, someone had to be responsible. And thus, as I went to quest to figure out who these people were, I realized they were the Jews. That these Jews had stabbed us on our back, and they had managed to make us lose World War I. And thus, as I continued to prosper, and as I continued to grow, I led the Nazi Party towards the truth, towards the solution, to eliminate all Jews and to take on anti-Semitic policies.